Hi, and welcome to CORE101 Week 1 recording for education learners. This recording will help introduce you to getting started here at Southwestern College, especially as an education learner. So if you're not an education learner, then get out of the recording and find the other recording for the non-education degree seekers. If you are an education learner, then I hope you learn a lot of great things from this. The first thing we want to cover is online classroom etiquette. I'll give you a little bit to look over the slideshow. Basically, it's just to remember that as this is a professional environment, we do ask that you respect other people's opinions and their class postings, and that you are aware that we work on Central Standard Time, as this is where our college is located. So I'll give you just a little bit more time. Okay. In addition, we want you to remember not to use all capital letters because that's considered shouting. To make sure you're using proper punctuation, capitalization, and grammar. It's really easy to get stuck in the idea that this is like texting because it is an online forum, but because this is a professional environment, we do ask that you write and express yourself as you are a professional. The admission requirements are that, first of all, that you have a minimum of 6 college credits, which can be from a civilian college, can be military credits, it can also be CLEPing or Dante's. To be admitted as an education learner, you must have a minimum of a 2.5 cumulative GPA. If your GPA is below a 2.5, you will have the opportunity to try and get your GPA up, but after 2 semesters of not being able to do so, there's a chance you will be placed on suspension, which means that you will no longer be able to take education classes until your GPA is at that 2.5. The first thing that you're really wanting to focus on is getting admitted to the Teacher Education Committee. There are a number of admission requirements. It is something that you do have some time to achieve all the goals, but you do want to be aware of all those goals and to start planning on when you will accomplish them. So again, the first goal is that you must have a 2.5 cumulative GPA. You must also take and pass the Praxis 1, which is also called the Pre-Professional Skills Test, or the PPST. That test, if you're not familiar with it, is 3 parts: reading, writing, and math. It's something that you do want to right away go ahead and start looking into the test, start finding out what kinds of content are on the test, taking practice tests, and giving yourself a little bit of time once you feel comfortable to go ahead and take the test so you can get a baseline to see where you need to improve, or pass it and have one less thing to accomplish as you are completing your degree. In addition, you need Composition 1, Composition 2, and Speech. Each of those classes you can transfer in or take with us. You must have a C or above, and the cumulative GPA between those 3 classes must be a 2.5. You also need to take Education Entrance Seminar, Foundations of Education, General Psychology, and Developmental Psychology. You must have a C or above on each of those. In addition, I want you to be aware, when we're saying C or above, that means that receiving a C- means that's not good enough. You'll have to retake that course. And then the last requirement is passing the initial teacher interview, which you'll set up an Education Entrance Seminar, which in most cases will be your next class after CORE101. That's a 15-minute interview between you and a faculty member to discuss your goals for education, why you want to be a teacher, and what your plans are for when you do become an educator. Again, that'll be scheduled in your education entrance seminar, but it's just something to keep in your mind as you start. This is your admissions paperwork. All of this was required except for the FERPA consent form. At this time, you should have most, if not all, of these things on file. If not, then your admissions counselor will follow up with you to make sure. Okay, the biggest thing I can stress that you need to make sure you have in it is your official transcripts. We need your official transcripts from every institution you ever attended. Even if you went and you withdrew the class and you didn't receive any credit, we still need those transcripts. Even if you went and it was just one class and you don't really think that you want to transfer that class in, we still need those transcripts. We need them from civilian schools, military transcripts if you have arts, SMART, CCAF, CGI. We also need any CLEP or Dante's transcripts. We have 2 different addresses to send those transcripts. Any arts and SMARTs transcripts can go to our Wichita, Kansas location. Make sure to include attention military transcripts. All of your other transcripts can go to the registrar's office at our Winfield location. Again, it's so important that you put attention military transcripts or attention registrar's office, because if you just send it generically to Southwestern College, nobody will know who that letter belongs to, and in those times your transcripts are lost and you have to order them again. Also, if you had a different last name at the time that you attended that other institution, please make sure that we're aware of that so that we can connect those transcripts to you. Since most of your classes that are outside of the education degree will be 6 weeks. However, most of the classes within your education degree will be 12 weeks long. So I'm going to go over 2 different policies for a drop withdrawal. You have 1 week from the beginning of class, which is always a Monday. So you have until before Sunday at midnight of your first week of class to drop the class. When you drop the class, it does not appear in your transcript and you don't have a charge. One thing to keep in mind is that if you are using financial aid, if you drop the class, even on the very first day of class, it will be shown on your financial aid records as attempting a class you didn't complete. If you continue to create this kind of pattern, then it's possible that your financial aid eligibility will be flagged and you'll run into some issues there. But nonetheless, you won't be charged anything. After the first week, you have until the end of the second week, so again, Sunday before midnight of the second week, to withdraw the class at 30% of the charge. When you withdraw the class, it does appear on your transcript as a WD, but it does not affect your GPA. And again, that's 30% of the tuition. After the second week, you have until before Sunday at midnight of the 5th week to withdraw at 100% of the tuition. So again, a WD will appear in your transcript. It won't affect your GPA, but you will need to pay for the full tuition. After the 5th week, you're stuck in the class. You need to do what you can to get the best grade that you can. For 12-week classes, the drop deadline is actually the same. It's the end of the first week class. Same thing. No charge, nothing on your transcript, but it would affect your financial aid if you did it after that before the class started. To withdraw, you have until the end of the 4th week, so before Sunday at midnight of the 4th week is your opportunity to withdraw the class at 30%. Again, on your transcript as a WD, 30% charge doesn't affect your GPA. After the 4th week, you have until Sunday at midnight of the 10th week to withdraw at 100% of the charge. Again, on your transcript, WD doesn't affect your GPA. After that 10th week, so those last 2 weeks of class, again, you have to remain in the class. Do your best to get the grade that you can. A learner status alert is a system from your instructors that goes to your academic success coach. It alerts the coaches to know that there's an issue that a learner is facing that maybe needs some support from their coach. Some reasons are class attendance, poor grades, if you're not turning in work, if you haven't received your textbook, if you're struggling with writing, things like that. When we receive that, we try to contact you, see if there's anything we can do to assist you. It's not a mark against you. It's just for us to be aware that you may need some extra assistance to be successful. Okay. We have 3 semesters at Southwestern College, spring, summer, and fall. Spring and fall each have 3 sessions of 6 weeks each. Summer has 2 sessions of 6 weeks each. So for those who are taking 6-week classes, that works out really nicely. You start a class, you end a class, you start a class, you end a class. For us education learners, when you're in a 12-week class, it means that your classes will take up 2 sessions. So either session 1 and 2 or session 2 and 3. You will have times when classes overlap. You will start classes and end classes and be in the middle of classes during certain sessions. But that allows you to get the observation hours that are required for some of your classes. It gives you the opportunity to get those fulfilled. It gives you the opportunity to really digest the information and to really apply what you've learned. We can't stress enough the importance of communication. Communicate with us if there's an issue that we can try to help you with. Communicate with your instructor if you're seeing that there might be something that's going to prevent you from turning in an assignment on time. So many times people are more willing to work with you if we know ahead of time what's going on, what the circumstances are, and that you're giving us that courtesy. And also, that just allows us to keep you aware of any obstacles that might come up to what you're planning on doing. We have different forms of payment that apply to different learners. For TA, tuition assistance, that would go to Josh Murphy. His information is listed. If you are using a GI Bill and need to talk to our VA rep, Nancy Morris's information is listed. If you're using financial aid, Crystal Rogers and Chris German, both their contact information is listed there. Again, to stress one more time, we need your transcripts. If you're using financial aid, you want to get them in as soon as you can, because you can't even be packaged in financial aid until we have all of your official transcripts. We don't want to see that you're unable to use financial aid because you weren't able to get one of those transcripts in. So it's less of a headache for you and for us if you just get it in. This is the link to our bookstore, MVS Direct. There's new books, used books, electronic books, the ability to rent books if you don't want to keep them. It will list each of the courses by session and semester and by whether or not you're a professional studies or main campus learner. By the way, you're all professional studies learners since you're coming through our Wichita campus. If you have any questions about that, contact your coach and they can assist you. If you look at your new learner instructions, it gives you a lot of these links, such as for self-service, and kind of walks you through it a little bit. But when you click on this link, you'll see below the login, username, and password, it says request your account. So click on the link and click request account. It'll ask for your system ID number. Your system ID number is your student ID number. It begins with 111 and then has 6 more digits. This ID number was listed at the top of your new learner instructions. So put in your system ID, your first name, your last name, and your date of birth, and click Request Account. A temporary password will be sent to whichever email we have on file for you. It's important that you might want to check your junk mail. It's possible that it may have gotten there. It usually takes between 2 to 5 minutes for it to arrive, but it's fairly instantaneous. Once you get the temporary password, go back into the self-service login, put in your system ID as your username, and then use the temporary password as the password. It'll immediately prompt you to change your password, and we'll give you specific directions for what it wants. It wants upper, lowercase, special characters, numbers. That will be outlined. But please write that down because it is really easy to forget. And your self-service account is important for a number of reasons. It's where you would change your address, your phone number. It's where you would check for your grades. It's where, if you're not using the Go Army Ed portal, where you would enroll in your next classes. It's where you just make sure you're on track with everything. So it's important when you get a moment to go ahead and request an account, look through it, and don't be afraid to ask your coach if you have any questions. That concludes this recording. If you have any questions, contact your coach. If you haven't heard from your coach, now's a great time to go ahead and let them know that you're what concerns you might have or what questions you might have, as well as address any questions about your course to your instructor. So thank you so much for your time and for your participation, and we hope you enjoy CORE 101.